What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. We're filming this a week out because I'm headed to Hawaii here soon. So, Trey, thank you so much for joining me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Trey's from the Firehouse here in Las Cruces. I love the name, by the way. We'll get more to that.
Thanks.
But yeah, thank you for joining me. It's gonna be a cool episode. This is the third episode I filmed this week, so it's been a kind of a crazy week. But next week, I have Hawaii, so that's gonna be cool. And I appreciate you, jumping ahead and coming a week before, man.
Of course, man. I understand how it goes. You need a vacation sometimes.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Yeah. So I've known you and Amy, for a while now, from the medical cannabis side and everything. But for the people out there who may not, could you give us a little rundown who you are?
Yeah, of course. So I started here in the cannabis industry, and let me actually jump a little further ahead. I came here in Las Cruces in 2011 on a football scholarship to play quarterback at NMSU. Came from Houston, Texas.
Okay.
After that, in 2014, I started working at MJ Espresso, and a year later, Amy started working there, and that's where we met each other officially. And after that, I started working in the CBD industry. So I farmed 20 acres of hemp down in the Mesilla Valley here in Las Cruces, or actually in Mesilla, New Mexico. And we turned that into a brand selling horse treats and pet treats and eventually human CBD products as well. And now we opened up the Firehouse. We're about a year and a month old at the Firehouse. So yeah, it's been quite a journey up to this point.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate every part of it pretty much.
Yeah. So what made you get into the cannabis industry? Because actually I met you when you're at MJ Espresso, which is now Pure Life. I met both of you actually there initially.
Right.
You were just a bud tender when I first met you.
Right.
Were you still quarterbacking at that time?
No. So I finished up school in 2014, and I wasn't dead set on going into cannabis, but I did love cannabis.
Yeah.
And I knew that for a fact. That I felt like it was a healthy way of going about life. And so I was out partying with a friend, and she told me, hey, I'm working at this dispensary, MJ Espresso, it's in Doña Ana, and we're hiring right now. So I just lit up inside. And so long story short, 3 weeks later, I ended up working there, and I've been in the industry essentially ever since then. That was 2015 when that happened. So that's what got me into it. And eventually I started at the door. I worked my way to management, and I realized that I could do this on my own. So the hunger in me just kind of led me to where I am now.
Nice. Yeah. Because I actually remember when MJ, that's a memory unlocked there, being out in Doña Ana, that was an interesting ride out there. And it kind of felt like it was like next to a gas station or something, right?
We were right next to, at the time it was, I want to say Dave's Burgers, or it was an old burger shop.
Yeah.
And then there was at the end of the lot, there was also a Family Dollar. And I believe that was all. It was just us and those two. Oh, there was a meat market there as well. And yeah, that was it. There was a couple gas stations up the road, and Chachi's is up there as well.
Chachi's, you're right. Yeah. I forgot about that. I don't really venture off into Doña Ana very often.
That was one of our spots back then.
I bet you. Yeah. It's probably one of the only spots too, right?
Yeah. That and the burger spot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's cool, man. Working your way up and everything. So you've been in the industry for about almost a decade now. Yeah.
Almost a decade, exactly.
Yeah. So
it makes me feel old. Yeah.
I know, right? I think about it. I've been in the industry for 11 years now.
Yeah.
Especially on the advocacy side and everything, and doing that. And I look at it, I'm like, God dang, it's a long time.
Yeah.
A long time to be doing this here in New Mexico. So it's a long time coming. Congratulations on the Firehouse and everything and all that. So, but let's talk a little bit more about about your football stuff. I really wanted to dig into that because you have a particular perspective that not many people know. You played D1 football. Not many people can actually say that.
Right.
But at the time, cannabis was kind of picking more up in the popularity in the sports world. Because as we know, most leagues and everything don't allow cannabis. But some players still do. So what was your experience with your use during playing for NMSU and everything?
During, I guess I'm a decade out now, so I can admit that I smoked pretty much the whole way through college.
Yeah.
I did, and it was helpful. It was a good way to decompress at the end of the day. It was a lot of tough days dealing with just the competition, dealing with the pain, dealing with all of it in general. You could always depend on cannabis, and then there was the bonding aspect of it all. We would all get together and just have these smoke sessions, and discuss wins or losses or practices, or our goals or whatever it was. So for the most part, it was a productive thing for us. It wasn't inhibiting us in any way, I would say.
Yeah.
And I say us because a lot of us did it. Most of us did it.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
handful of us that didn't, and I can respect that.
Yeah.
But most of us use cannabis, even at other schools.
Yeah, yeah. And, I kind of feel it's a national thing, not just, at New Mexico State
Right.
or, at one particular college. I kind of feel this is just sports in general, throughout
Right.
the whole nation.
Exactly.
And from my experience, playing sports, growing up too, and, some of my friends that went off to play college, they expressed the same thing that, yeah, a lot of people smoke weed and it's not really a big deal. Of course, at the times, under the rug kind of,
Right.
don't, be so loud about it. But at the same time,
Exactly.
it was very there and available. But yeah, a lot of the players, said that, I use it for, after game, football games, you get beat up. Like there's a reason why you only have one game a week,
Oh, yeah.
because you need that time to heal up again. And, cannabis kind of, helps along with that process.
Exactly.
Especially if, you use the bombs and, other things, not just smoke it.
Hmm.
So what was your go-to for your use when it came to like, recovery?
Back then, all I knew was smoke. I didn't know strains. I didn't know sativa indica. That would be the only thing I would change
Yeah.
if I could change anything.
Yeah.
So all I knew was smoke. But as I evolved into the cannabis industry and grew to know more, I turned to topicals,
Okay.
bombs. Mostly just the topicals work really well. They tend to work very fast, as deep as you can rub them into your body. And even if it's a topical that doesn't have THC in it, if it's legitimate CBD products, it tends to work really well as well. Um, so I would say right now my go-to is going to be a topical, and specifically at our CBD brand, Golden Heights, that Amy and I recently started. We have a topical that I've been using since 2019, and it works amazing. I've probably sold thousands over the years.
Yeah.
I would back it any day. So that's where I'm at as far as body pain, nerve, muscle, bone, as deep as you can rub it. It works really well.
Because CBD is great for anti-inflammatory properties.
Exactly.
And that's really great because when you have an injury or something, you need that anti-inflammatory properties.
Right.
Especially if you want to speed up that healing process. Because it's hard to work out when you're in pain. Like it's almost damn near impossible.
Right.
So yeah, that's cool, and that's great. You guys started the CBD side because THC has its place, but CBD also has its place too. And they kind of work together. If you can kind of put them together and kind of figure out your own kind of regimen that that you work out. So for maybe the younger athletes out there now, what would be like your recommendation for them? And now don't go jeopardizing your scholarships now, guys, but for those out there who are going to do it anyway, what would be your recommendation for them, for like topicals or what kind of use?
So the topical that I like to use specifically is like a roll-on, and it's kind of thin. We sell it at the Firehouse.
Okay.
If you rub it on, it works instantly. There's no THC in it. It works for about 30 to 45 minutes. And I like to say it's kind of a shortcut to getting yourself warmed up and ready to go and cooled down and feeling better afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those must-haves for your gym bag, I would say. And being that there's no THC, you wouldn't risk getting into any trouble or any harm with the NCAA or any other of these leagues. Yeah.
And the NCAA, they're about to change those regulations, aren't they, on cannabis?
I believe they are pretty progressively moving. They're moving pretty progressive on it right now.
Because I know you can make money now while you're playing too, which I'm sure you would have loved that in college, or any athlete would have.
It was always a big deal, man.
Yeah.
Grateful to even have the opportunity at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate you sharing, your perspective inside when it comes to it, because not a lot of people can or will share that side of the story. So, I really appreciate you sharing that, man, because, a lot of athletes, maybe watch this and, take a lot of good tips from it,
Yeah, it's cool to have the opportunity to actually discuss some of these things because there's a lot of value to young athletes, ex-athletes, and current athletes. People who aren't even athletes, the elderly, or just anyone that's dealing with anything at all.
My veterans.
Veterans, exactly. Exactly. So I appreciate you having me and allowing me to speak on this.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's something that I thought was kind of cool. I've never had a D1, athlete on that I know of anyway. So I thought it would be a really great perspective, to kind of give, you're about a decade away from playing and everything. So it's still kind of fresh, about everything. So, I appreciate that. But, we'll jump over that. Well, let's talk about, the Firehouse. So when did that idea of running a dispensary come? I know you said that, oh, I could do this, but you know, like laws had to change, obviously.
So the actual idea of running a dispensary came into mind back in 2017 or 18 when I was running MJ Espresso.
Yeah.
And I've always been a hustler in mind and heart. And I saw myself doing everything that I needed to do to run the business, as far as I understood at that point in time, at least. And I just convinced myself that I could do it on my own. So I started to do things to kind of put myself in position. And although it took years for me to get to this position, you know, I went through a lot of the steps and the necessary um, things that I needed to go through to learn how to run a successful business in any business, not just cannabis business. So I'm grateful for that.
And that's good because, you know, a lot of people came into this industry not even knowing how to run a business. I mean, the most they've ran is probably a track, you know, and, you know, if that. And so, you know, it's great that you came in knowing what you're getting into, because some people thought that they're just going to put whatever weed they had on the shelf, open the door, and they were going to make millions, when that is not the case whatsoever, you know, especially with how saturated it is, you know, like during the medical days, that was the case because it was so limited you could do that. You know, there was, you know, really no way around it. But you know, these days it's not the same. So you know, it's really good that you went about that. So the name, where did you guys come up with the name? You know, I like it. It's very clever. It's a good play on words. You know.
So when I originally thought I was getting myself a license, I want to say this was around 2020. I was traveling selling CBD for horses, and we were just traveling through some back road in Texas. And I'm staring out a window, and I just thought the Firehouse. Like if I ever owned a dispensary, that's what it would be called. And I also didn't rush into a name. I've learned that it'll come natural and it'll have a meaning and it'll make sense or it'll pop in one way or another.
Yeah.
So just give it some time. And yeah, I mean, that was essentially it. I just randomly came up on it. I allowed myself the time to do so.
Nice. Yeah. You know, and that's the best names, when they just come to you out of nowhere. You know, when you're just like in a natural, you know, place, and you're just like, oh, that's it. That's it. And I really like it because, you know, it's a play on words. You know, like usually a firehouse is, you know, a bunch of firefighters there. But, you know, these days, you know, fire means cannabis, good cannabis, and of course, a house. So it's just a really great play on words. And you guys are really smart because you knew better than to name yourself something cannabis, something hemp, something cannabis related.
Exactly.
You know, due to, you know, all the reasons that I've told you guys many times before. I'm sure you thought of them too. You know, and in doing so, did you guys kind of have less issues on certain fronts?
It hasn't really affected us too much. That thing in particular hasn't affected us too much, but you know, we've dealt with having Instagrams and social medias deleted. I'm at the moment I'm blocked on Facebook right now as we speak. So I'm blocked from doing group activity, and I don't know exactly why it's happening, but in the hemp business it was not like this. In other businesses that I've been in. So I can imagine that having that name that does not have cannabis in it will benefit you if you were to try to go to certain avenues to market your business.
Yeah, I agree, because, you know, even just having the username Invader Kush, you know, I've run into issues with, you know, them trying to ban my bio all the time, and I'm sure certain people, you know, report the profiles, you know, so and so, which I don't understand. I'm just giving you guys information. If you don't want information, I don't know what to tell you. You know, so yeah, and I deal with that too. So, you know, if I could go back and kind of change it, maybe I would, but you know, that name's there for a different reason. But you guys, you know, we're really smart about it, and I try to tell people that when they get in the industry. I'm like, don't put something cannabis in your name. Like, you're going to cause issues for banking. You know, people are going to charge you more. You know, as soon as you say you're in the cannabis industry, that $500 bill turned to $1,000, you know, just out of nowhere. You know, you're like, wait, I thought this was $500. They're like, yeah, it's not anymore. You know,
it's ridiculous, but it is real. It's very real.
Yeah, it is. And there's discriminatoriness on all levels when it comes to cannabis. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. And most of it is bad, you know, especially when you say the word cannabis and you have to pay more. You know, like that's the worst part. You know, you're just trying to make it through like with everyone else, and everyone assumes that, you know, you're making millions of dollars. You're like, bro, I got to pay 280E. You know, like I don't think they understand, you know, what 280E is. And I've told you guys many times, we've kicked the dead horse on the 280E. But you know, that does make it hard for, you know, business owners, you know, as the 280E.
Absolutely.
And I don't think they understand that, you know, that front. So but anyway, you know, talking about the woes and everything, I just thought about that good question, because, you know, I've never thought about asking someone who doesn't have cannabis related to their name that question before.
Mhm.
You know, like how much easier does it make? Because I mean, advertising wise, you guys are good. You know,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, we do. Amy's our advertising
Yeah.
guru, and we like to bounce ideas off of each other. But she has this idea in her mind, and she won't stop until she gets it. And I'm not that meticulous, so I can definitely appreciate what she has to offer in that aspect. And then we have an amazing team.
Yeah.
Everyone's willing to put the work in. Um, we have our assistant manager Taylor, and then we have our one of our employees Daniel.
Mhm.
Amazing. I wouldn't ask for anyone different.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're there full time as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure Amy's working right now, right?
exactly.
Yeah. And she did a really good job on the layout of the shop. You
I
know, like
appreciate
beautiful
that.
colors, you know, like, you know, the way she matches. She's always been good at that. You know,
Mhm.
like great at decorating, you know, great at the, you know, marketing side of things
Mhm.
too. So it's great that you have that partner on your side, you know.
Definitely.
And I've
Great.
noticed that most dudes that own a dispensary, their significant other usually is the marketing person,
Mhm.
which, you know, makes sense because I would suck at it, you know, if
Me
it came
too.
down to it too. So like here at Monster House as well, where we're at, you know, his wife actually did all the decorating here too, and she did a really good job.
Yeah. This is not something you see every day or anywhere else. I've never seen any place like this. I really like it actually.
Yeah, it's really cool. You know, I call this the Edgar Allan Poe corner because it kind of gives me those vibes. Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, you guys did a really good job on the inside. So, what products do you carry right now?
So we have some. As far as flower, we like to carry the Lucky Cultivation flower. We like to carry the Sea Junkie flower.
Mhm.
Those are very popular for us. We love to support local. It's a big thing for us. We have to walk a thin line, so we try
Yeah.
to support as much as we can.
Yeah.
You know, but as far as other products and flower, we carry Chronics, Desert Peaks, and I'm sure there's another one or two that I'm missing, but I'm sure I value them just as much.
Yeah.
As far as other products, we love Stash House. They do amazing. Their customer service, their attention to detail is amazing. They're a great example at just a manufacturer who's doing it right, from my perspective.
Yeah.
And I love the products that they offer. I love their presence. They're always there to make sure that things are not sitting around,
Yeah.
basically. And Sublime, they tend to have a lot of good products that we carry. Their half-gram carts are really popular at our store. Um, and GH Labs, some different products you might not find down here at other
Yeah. Because
places.
they're from up north for
Up
sure.
north, yeah. And then another one, herbal edibles. I've always, even since MJ Espresso days, I've always loved. I remember the very first products that they brought out, those lemon bars back
Yeah.
in 2016.
They win awards with those things.
Man, those things are amazing. So they've been
Shout out to
killing it
them.
ever since. Yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to them.
Yeah, they've been around since the medical days. If you guys haven't tried their product, try it. I mean, they're award winning. You know,
Yeah.
and they've won several awards, so for good reason. So
We do have some Headspace stuff, and we're going to be carrying more Headspace stuff. I love what they're doing.
Yeah.
Also, I have plans on carrying a lot more of the top quality rosin and concentrates.
Okay.
They're pretty soon.
So like the resin heads, the couch logs,
Exactly.
yeah, all those good ones.
Oleo.
Yeah, Oleo, yeah. So all the good brand. Cool, man. That's dope to, you know, you guys are a little expanding a little bit more, you know, and that should happen throughout time anyway. You know, you kind of start small and, you know, build the menu as you go.
Walking the thin line.
Yeah, walking the marginal thin line. Yeah, I totally get it, man. And you guys are a 24-hour shop too as well, right? And there's not that many in town. You guys are one of few actually, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I think there's only 3.
I think there might be 3 others.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that.
Okay, yeah. Because last time I checked, you know, there's only a few. But yeah, what's your, like, I haven't had someone who has a 24-hour shop on. So I wanted to ask you a couple questions on that front. You know, like,
sure.
How is it running a 24-hour shop? I mean, you kind of have to be available at all times or, you know, like.
Yeah, definitely have to be available. It's one of those things that this has to be your life. It takes a lot. And then on top of that, like I mentioned earlier, I have an amazing team. And if someone falls a little short or has something going on, someone's happily to jump in and fill in. So
yeah,
I think that's what it takes to make it work and to have people that can appreciate it as if it's their own. That's another part I can appreciate.
Yeah.
And that really helps when having this 24-hour deal going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's been beneficial.
So like your customer base, like do you see more of an influx in customers at night or during the day?
Uh,
'Cause we got some night owls around, you know.
Definitely have night owls. I haven't really put a percentage on it, but I see a good amount of customers after we close our lobby at 8 p.m. and after that, it just from 8 to 12, it's popping. So
Really
yeah, it
interesting.
does do pretty good. And I mean that's not to say it doesn't do better throughout the day, but
Yeah,
just to give you a little insight on what it's like at night, it does pretty good. And after 12, even on the weekends especially, it continues to pick up and go well throughout the night. But more more concentrated from 8 to 12, I would
yeah,
say.
and that's smart that you guys close the lobby because you really no reason to have the lobby open late
Right,
at night. You know, most people don't even want to get out their vehicles late at night.
right.
So you know, do you guys have a drive-through or is it a walk-up?
So it's actually a walk-up window. It was not there when we rented this building initially. It was just a thought that I had. You know, if I can't have a drive-through, I would definitely do a walk-up window. So I sourced the window, put the little cement slab in there, all the lights and everything, just so customers feel safe.
Yeah.
And that particular area, it's interesting over there. But yeah, it's working out good. I'm glad that I considered that ahead of time.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And speaking of safety, you know, like I've heard one other, 24-hour dispensary tell me that the actual local residents of the area went and thanked them for being there because the crime in the area kind of went down a little bit. Have you experienced the same, or is it kind of a little different where you're
Hmm.
at?
I guess I'm not really sure. I'm not sure enough to comment on that.
Yeah, yeah, because you weren't there before,
Right,
like to
right,
really know.
exactly.
I'm just wondering if any residents came to you like, hey, thanks for being here, like crime went down.
I have not had that happen in particular, but I do know. So I rented the space for about a year before we actually opened, and
Okay.
then within that year, we had multiple break-ins
Mm.
into the tattoo shop next door and other buildings, that other suites within the building. So that has not happened since we've been open, and especially since we've been open 24/7.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that that's had a little bit something to do with it. And then
Hmm.
some of the people that are out there in the streets, they're a lot of our customers. So
Yeah.
you give them respect, you get respect back. You don't
Yeah.
have any problems. So that's been my experience.
Okay. So, a little bit of working with the local community and the people that live in the area and also being open kind of deters people from doing that anyway. Because, I
Right,
mean, it's going to be hard to break into a tattoo shop when the shop's open next door and they can
right,
just lock their stuff, call the cops, and, you're
exactly,
busted.
exactly.
So, yeah. And it makes sense. It only makes sense that 24-hour shops would do that because they had this false like notion that it was going to be the opposite. Crime
Hmm.
was going to go up. There's going to be people holding up the dispensaries late at night, and how are you going to ensure? Because one of the issues was how am I going to ensure my employees' safety if I do a 24-hour shop? But that seems to not be the issue whatsoever. You know?
Yeah, especially in our case, like I said,
Yeah,
we closed down the lobby.
yeah.
That's one major thing. I don't think I would do it otherwise.
I think it's smart. Yeah,
And on our window, that you wouldn't walk by it and say that's a drive-through or a walk-up window because it just looks like a black screen and it's got a hole in it. So it's just for our protection,
yeah,
and it's nice for visible reasons, for safety reasons. It's just nice to have that.
yeah. That's cool, man. And that is smart. You close the lobby, you have the window. If you
Hmm.
want your cannabis 3 a.m., you can still get it. You just got
Yep.
to go to the window.
Ring a doorbell and we will be there.
Yeah, that's dope, man, and that's cool. And having the 24-hour shop really opens it up because I've heard I don't know how many times from bud tenders and dispensary owners like, oh, we close at like 6 or 7, but it
Hmm.
seems like it picks up around that time. Like
Hmm.
it starts to pick up, and it makes sense because when you get off of work, you're not going straight to the dispensary. You got to go home. Maybe sometimes eat dinner. Maybe after
Hmm.
dinner you got to go. Maybe you have some errands to run. And by the time it's all said and done, it's 7:30 p.m. And
Yeah.
everything's closed. So if you have that option to go to something still open, you can do it. Then you have people that get off on night shift. You have the late night gamers. You have the students who are studying late.
Right.
Are those kind of like the same people that you get too? Or
I do get some of those people.
yeah,
I get a large variety, man. It's just the convenience of it all.
yeah,
So
yeah,
everyone, people just hop on Google and they're like, "Oh, this one's open," and then they go to the reviews. The
yeah,
reviews are huge. So
yeah,
once they confirm those two things, they usually show up and they're like, "Oh, this is cool. This is interesting. I'm gonna have to start coming to this place."
yeah. That's dope, man. And then that's cool that you guys have the walk up window. Because most 24-hour shops either they are drive through, one solely drive through,
Mm,
and then I think the others have their lobby open, so you can go in still. But having the walk up window, I don't see that much in town. I think maybe a couple other places have the walk up window.
hmm.
I think it was Cloud House had that.
Not familiar about Cloud House. I do know that Cannabis has it as well.
Okay, cannabis.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another one. So yeah, I knew there was a couple more that did, but it's great that we have those options in
Mhm.
New Mexico because most states they don't even have the option to do deli style or prepackaged. It's one or the other. Here we
Right.
have it's dealer's choice really,
Mhm.
which I think is great. And which one do you guys do or prefer?
We do both.
Okay.
And from my experience working in the industry, it is best to do both. If I had to choose one, I would choose deli style
Okay.
all day because you at least have the choice on
Yeah.
having fresh flower. When you go to purchase it for your store, you know that it's a certain amount of fresh,
Hmm.
and it's not in some kind of packaging that you can't even see through or feel the moisture, or really smell it. So those are the challenges when you have the prepackaged flower, I would say.
Yeah, and I think both come with pros and cons, just like
Hmm.
anything, of course. And I always feel it's just personal preference,
Yeah.
like really what the customer wants, and that really opens the opportunity for that.
Right.
If the
Right.
customer wants prepackaged, you can have prepackaged. If you want deli style, well, we got deli style too.
Right.
Instead of just forcing one thing on the customer. And I think that's something that really opened it up for New Mexico.
That is true.
Versus like I think Colorado is deli style only, right?
I'm not familiar.
I'm
I'm
not
not
too
too
sure.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head if they're deli style. I know Washington is prepackaged only. Like all the cannabis I got in Washington prepackaged. Like even the ounce that was I used for making my friend edibles, prepackaged.
That's tough.
So yeah, it sounds like we did it right in that
Yeah.
sense. And it's great that we can do that, and hopefully we can continue to kind of lead the way when it comes to regulation, because yeah, we are doing things different, and it's going different the way that they thought it was going to go, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad because it's making us look better in the end of the day
Of course.
and all that. So, but yeah, so what is your plans for the shop in the future?
At the moment, our biggest thing is just to build something that lasts.
Yeah.
I'm big on, if you're gonna build a brand or start selling products, find one product that works and master that one, and then start to expand off of that. So that's kind of the idea. And yeah, that. With that said, we haven't thought too much about what we're gonna do next or anything. I feel like once we have something that lasts and we've accomplished that goal,
Yeah.
then we could really look up and see where we're at and go from there.
Dope. Yeah. So it's great that you guys aren't um, thinking too far ahead. You kind of have to pace yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a couple people in the industry locally that kind of got ahead of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
too far ahead of themselves, and then end up not making it very long.
Right.
So we've seen that many times. It
It's
wasn't just
easy to
one
do it.
instance. Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
easy to do.
It is. It is, and it's easy to see the success and to think that success is going to continue for months on,
Mm-hmm.
or it'll stay the same and keep going this when you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. It's
Yeah.
likely the exact opposite.
Exactly. So, and I told people, at the very beginning, we saw $3,000 like pounds, and I was like, don't get used to that. The days of that are pretty much almost over anyway. It
Right.
only lasted like 3 months, 4 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then it started dropping already. So it's the same thing with sales. That happens. So, but do you guys have any like events or anything in plan? Keep in mind this is coming out next week.
Yeah. So it's coming out next week. We're gonna miss this weekend. We have a couple of things like the Laughing Grass Fest.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have our customer appreciation on Sunday, but obviously that doesn't really matter. For 7/10, we're gonna do an early celebration. So on 7/6, we
Okay.
do have a few things going on. A
Perfect.
food truck. We have higher culture coming out. Um, Unbreakable Tattoos are going to be doing some piercings and some tattoo stuff going on. And I want to say I'm forgetting about one more thing, but if you guys just check us out on our social medias, we'll definitely be posting about it.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll be posting this episode next Thursday. So yeah, hopefully you guys will get the message on that.
Yeah. One more thing is,
Yeah.
sorry to cut you off.
No.
We also set up every month, first Friday at the Fine Art Market. So you
Okay.
can definitely find us there. We like the crowd there. We always try to do interactive giveaways and things like that. So yeah, check us out.
Dope. Yeah, and if you guys don't know what the Fine Arts Market is, every Friday we have here in Las Cruces in downtown a Fine Arts Flea Market. Let me say that right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not every month, to be honest. Sometimes it's just the market, but the Fine Arts Flea Market's cool. They have like a big brick of just graffiti. They're doing a bunch of art. They're doing free art everywhere. They have a bunch of vendors. They have the cannabis companies popping up. Giving away merch. Talking about their companies and doing giveaways and stuff. So if you guys are in Cruces in New Mexico and you've never checked out the downtown area on a Wednesday or Saturday, gotta do it. Or first of the Friday of the month. You know,
Yep.
they're always doing something cool downtown, and that's something I really appreciate about Cruces.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Me too.
hopefully we can incorporate cannabis in the coming years. You know, that's something that we need to change legislatively, but I think we can get it done.
I'll tell you what, man, walking around, being boots on the ground, passing out flyers and things, I often say, hi, are you into cannabis? And people typically are pretty receptive over
Yeah.
there. So it feels like we're heading in the right direction.
I agree. I agree with you on that 100%. And I think the stigma is dying. It's a slow death, but it's dying.
Mhm.
So, but before we move on to the next topic, where can people find you online and in person?
In person, you can find us at 615 East Loman Avenue, Suite A. That's going to be at the Firehouse right next door to Unbreakable Tattoo. If you're not familiar with that, we are a block up from the Las Cruces Locksmith, the big red car sitting up in the air.
Awesome.
And then on Instagram, we're at The Firehouse with 2 underscores after. And then on Facebook, we're at The Firehouse Cannabis Co. with a period at the end of that. And then if you were interested in any of our CBD products for pets or yourself, we are at Golden Heights with the S and 2 underscores. And yeah,
Awesome.
that's, yeah.
Dope. Well, thank you. And if you guys are interested, you know, or it's late night and you get some cannabis, head over to Firehouse. So,
Yes, sir. Come
yeah.
check us out.
Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you joining me, Trey. And I look forward to continuing the conversation, man, because, you know, some pretty good, interesting conversations that, you know, we have coming up. So without further ado, let's talk about it. So cannabis drinks, I kind of feel they're going to be the future of the industry. I don't think they're going to be the sole one, though, but I think they're going to be number one for many reasons. While I was actually researching the story, because I thought it was a good time, I keep hearing all of this come up in conversations. It looks like Bloomberg has reported that cannabis drinks are one of the most popular searches on the internet right now. And that was confirmed when I looked up like the story, because like the moment I put in cannabis or THC infused drinks, all kinds of stuff popped up, stuff from a few hours ago to stuff, you know, last week to last month to, you know, end of last year. And, you know, it was pretty consistent. And so I was like, let me look at this. So I started looking into it more. Total Wine, they have on their site that you can get THC infused drinks. You know, as you guys know, it's pretty much a liquor store, and you can usually get wine there. Chicago liquor stores, they're selling THC or infused drinks. There's a semi-pro baseball team in Oregon, the Portland Pickles. They're going to be selling THC infused seltzers at the game. And yeah, it's really interesting. And then on top of that, and I didn't even have this in the thing, I just thought of it. And over in Europe, they're recommending, in Germany actually to be specific, the police there are recommending the soccer fans to use cannabis over drinking because they know it's not going to cause issues like alcohol. And that's telling me, well, things are changing, aren't they?
That's very progressive.
Yeah, it is, especially, you know, for Germany.
Right.
They just legalized over there, so you know it's great that we're seeing that. So maybe Germans will start selling, you know, cannabis drinks. There's an Iowa company that sued the state over the THC limit for the drinks, so that's on the actual cannabis industry side. Because a lot of things that I've been saying right now, this is actually on the 2018 Farm Bill hemp stuff. So most of the stuff that I had mentioned on here, this is actually hemp-derived, you know, the Delta 8s, the THCA,
Right.
the hemp-derived THCA. I have to be a little specific.
Right.
You know, the HHCs, all that stuff. So that's where these come in. So if it's a legal national brand, it's hemp. You know, it comes from hemp. But it's essentially a legal high that you can get from that. And out of everybody, you know that yourself, you know, being in the CBD industry for a while. So to me, like, that's great. And it's almost like a stepping stone on the way we need, because it's normalizing, you know. And then I think it's Minnesota, they legalize cannabis, but they're allowing actual these Delta 8 and THCA drinks to be consumed at the bar right now alongside of alcohol. So
Really?
that is actually surprising. Now it's a little loophole because there's a certain law that hasn't gone into effect yet. And once that does, I guess that's going to change. But for right now, I guess we'll just sit back and watch and see what happens over in Minnesota, because they're allowing, you know, THC drinks pretty heavily over there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting, because it being involved with alcohol is something that every single state has tried to combat thus far. You know, so I guess we'll get a real result of, does this really cause issues or not, you know, or what issues will this cause? And it won't be for very long. So what do you think about, you know, all of this so far? I mean, the drink stuff and all that, and I mean, just hearing how many places are going this route.
A lot of it is news to me, to be honest. You know, I'm familiar with the hemp-derived things, obviously.
Yeah.
What I think about it is, I'm not too shocked. I mean, it's kind of like what we know. We
Yeah,
know alcohol. We know going to the liquor store, being 21 year old, or having your ID, or it just falls
yeah,
right in line. So you don't
yeah,
have to create a whole new system. It just, look over and it's the next thing on the show.
yeah,
Um, I think, I guess I would say it's probably a good representation of what the people want
yeah,
because they're doing it under some kind of loophole.
yeah,
They're not just having to be ushered into it because the government is creating a market or a industry a certain way and everyone has to abide by it. They're just kind of taking it and running with it. And there's a lot of freedom within the hemp-derived industry at the moment. So that leads me to believe that this is kind of what everyone wants it to look like.
yeah.
But like I said, it's news to me because at dispensaries, although we do carry drinks and they are popular, pre-rolls, carts,
Hmm.
dispos, flour, all those things are typically the most popular things on
Yeah,
the shelves.
it is. And I agree still, because right now pre-rolls and carts are king, and then
Mm-hmm.
I believe flour is probably third and edibles and everything fourth.
Mm-hmm.
That from what my understanding anyway, from, recent months. So yeah, on the regular consumer side, it is like that. But
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, it seems to be, well, I mean, the availability of the other, well, I mean, everything else is available on the Delta 8 side too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when given the choice, it seems that people are going towards more of the drinks just because it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
There's no smell. You can take it into places. You can conceal it like it is alcohol. So no one's gonna give you crap. No one can Karen out on you. Essentially,
Right.
every concern that someone had with cannabis is essentially smut because there's no smoke, there's no secondhand anything. You have a drink to yourself and you're drinking it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
most likely no more than 10 milligrams.
Yeah.
On top of that, so it's not like they're sitting there downing a 500 milligram drink, which that would be ridiculous. Holy crap! I wouldn't even want to do that. And they're saying that the 5 to 10 milligram per beverage is about the same as an alcohol beverage, so it's kind of in the equivalency. So
Mm-hmm.
now we have something that we can limit and we can actually give a number to, versus flour sometimes fluctuates.
Right.
This, it doesn't fluctuate.
Right. Right.
It's 5 milligrams, it's 10 milligrams.
Makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel, and this isn't in the guide or anything, but the Delta 8s, the HHCs, all that good stuff, these drinks are kind of paving the way for us on the regular cannabis side, because like I said, these are hemp products, these aren't cannabis products in the legal sense. So on the cannabis side, we aren't seeing it this way because we come from a different mindset. So I kind of feel the people from the other side too, maybe they're new users too.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of feel that these drinks might be new user friendly as well. I mean, are you kind of seeing that too from new users?
Yes, definitely with the New Year's, especially if you can get a dosage
Yeah,
associated with it and it's not huge.
yeah,
Definitely the new users tend to lean towards something like that. And a lot of other reasons is because you don't really think about it much, but
hmm,
you can make a infused tea
yeah,
with the infused lemonade that you
yeah,
buy off the shelf.
100%. Yeah,
So
Arnold
there's
Palmer. Yeah,
you
yeah,
can there's a lot of different options. So yeah, that is a popular thing, I would say. And to just address the hemp derived industry, um, I have some friends in Houston that have a shop
yeah,
and they do really well. And
yeah,
I recently learned about the THCA and everything.
hmm,
And they say that essentially they're surviving or thriving off of the hype.
yeah,
There's a lot of people that come in there like, it looks like weed, it smells like weed. I'm getting a little stoned. I could do this, it's legal.
yeah,
So that's kind of what in Texas, that's kind of what they're dealing with. And they don't have to hide it or feel any kind of way because it's a loophole and
yeah.
they're not breaking the law.
Yeah, they're
Essentially.
not
So,
breaking any law,
yeah,
federally or through state, really. It's
right.
it's all legal. Yeah, you're 100% correct there. And has he really seen any like ups on the drinks? Because I've been noticing that from the research that a lot of these drinks are either in states that did a poor rollout of the regular adult use program, or it's a straight out illegal state. It's like usually one of the two things is kind of what I'm noticing because I don't see them here in New Mexico.
I'm not too
The
sure.
hemp derived ones is what I mean.
I don't believe so. I
Yeah,
talked to him about 3 weeks ago and he didn't mention it.
yeah,
So I'm not too sure on it, but uh, yeah, I don't know. I have to double check back
yeah.
with him and see.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, maybe we can update it someday.
Yeah, for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
that'd be great because it seems that Minnesota is kind of leading the way on the drinks thing. So I'm going to kind of pay attention to them a little bit when it comes to the drinks, because they seem to be a little more liberal when it comes to it. And it makes sense. They probably have, heavy drinking of alcohol up there. It seems like they do. So maybe they're trying to change that because, as we know, and I've kicked the dead horse on this one, the cannabis use is higher than alcohol use now in America, which I'm happy to say that's great.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
Right.
And I love that because that means there's less people drunk driving. There's less people ruining their liver. Because like we said, you don't have to smoke cannabis. There's many other ways that you can consume cannabis, and the drinks just seem to be like it's just going to be the normal thing. Because even California, who did allow consumption at their state fair here soon next month, they're only allowing cannabis consumption in a certain area that's closed in. It's in a building. It's 30,000 square feet. That's the only place you could smoke. You can't smoke outside, which kind of doesn't make any sense, right? But when you add it as a drink, you can eliminate all of that. You can have it indoors, you can have it outdoors, you can have it in space, essentially. So, you eliminate all of those little concerns, those little nuances that you have to go for. Now, don't get me wrong. I love smoking cannabis. I love dabbing. I love all those other things. But I kind of want to give the Karens an FU. Like there's been so much stigma on cannabis and its use and the smoke and all that I want to sit there with a drink, fully someone knowing that there's weed in it and they can't do anything.
Right.
Because how am I offending you? Like how am I doing anything? I'm not hurting your kids. I'm not making you stink. I'm minding my business.
I'm not out of control.
Yeah, I'm not out of control. I'm just hanging out. So to me, I kind of want this to happen. And I feel maybe 15 years down the road nationally, I kind of feel drinks will be the #1 use under smoking, of course. I think smoking will move down to #2, and eventually, we'll mostly drink because we're going to be at clubs, and we kind of kicked ourselves in the nuts when we fought tobacco so hard back in the 90s. Because now just smoking anything is just seen as bad. It is bad. Like all doctors agree that smoking anything is bad. But we, on a social level, made it so gross that even smoking weed, which is significantly better for you than smoking tobacco, don't get me wrong, smoking anything's bad, like I said, we made that stigmatized. And we kind of did ourselves a disservice at the same time. We did a great job at it, but now when it comes to the cannabis thing, it's kind of like, oh, you're smoking, and it's kind of like seen as bad. But if you're drinking it, it's probably going to be seen as normal.
Yep. That's the last thing,
Yeah.
No one can really complain about it. So I can see it definitely headed in that direction as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and from what I'm reading here, it's already happening on the hemp-derived side. So I mean, once we unleash cannabis more freely to the consumers, like hemp-derived stuff is, I kind of think it's going to head the same way. Because I mean, semi-pro baseball teams are allowing you to drink it at a freaking game, like outside. That's cool. I don't know about you. I love that. That's great.
It is cool.
Yeah. It's hemp-derived, of course, but I think it's great that we can actually do that. And maybe one day here in New Mexico, or maybe sometime soon, we'll change that too, and we'll make cannabis drinks more available, or maybe we'll allow cannabis drinks to be at concerts and stuff like that, or events, and that might be the grocery stores. Yes, liquor areas. There's liquor store hemp drive stuff already, so there's already something in place for that. So I'm excited to see where this goes. And that's pretty much all I had for this conversation. But the next one is actually kind of seconding on this one, because with all the pros that we have with this come the cons, especially when it comes to the hemp drive stuff. And that's one thing that kind of worries me in my time working at a CBD shop too, because I'm sure you remember, me and Amy working together at CBD Shaman. We sold the HHC and the Delta 8s eventually, and I kind of ran into people and customers who would get scammed elsewhere, gas station stuff and all that. So we'll talk about that. The gray market of the hemp drive. With these drinks comes companies who are going to try to mislead you, and they're going to try to tell you something that it isn't. One is a company called, I can't think of it right now, Nowadays. That's literally what it's called. And they kind of market themselves as an alcohol alternative. Even the bottle itself kind of looks like a Svedka bottle, or like an Absolute bottle, it resembles a liquor bottle, says no alcohol, and it's THC. Everywhere on the website, you can't see what THC it is. It doesn't tell you if it's hemp derived or what. But what gives it away is they have the COAs on there, which is cool. Thank you for the transparency. Yeah, thank you for that. That's actually great. But it still doesn't tell you if it's hemp derived. The only thing that tells you it's hemp derived is it says it's nationally available. If anything is nationally available, if it says it's THC, that's hemp derived. because the 2018 hemp bill, and you and I know that. But that seems a little misleading to me, because if I was a new consumer and I saw that, I'm like, oh shit, I can get weed.
Mhm.
Oh, dude, dope. I'm gonna buy it, and I'm not knowing it's hemp derived. Nothing wrong with the hemp derived, but as a consumer, I should know the difference. Like, it's only
Right.
fair. I should know that this is hemp derived. Because if I go to a party and I show up with this, I'm like, yo, there's weed in it, and you're with a bunch of connoisseurs, they're gonna laugh at you.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna feel really dumb, or you're gonna get educated really quick.
Right.
But will it work? Of course. Yeah. It won't work as well as regular cannabis side stuff. As from my reporting, what people told me,
Mhm.
Delta 8 and everything, they say it's like diet weed. I don't know if you've heard that too.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard it been called diet weed. So, and some people like that. It's not as intense. And some people may like these drinks, but don't get scammed. Don't go to the gas station and, buy your hemp derived stuff there, or think that it's real. So, what's kind of your outlook on that? Like the concerns for, we have all of these drinks on the market right now in the gray area. How often do you think people are going to be getting scammed with the drinks like this?
Well, the hemp derived products aren't as heavily regulated
Yeah,
as the
unfortunately.
cannabis.
Yeah.
So you're gonna run into situations like that, and the best thing you can do really is use regular cannabis, and try to find some that you can find where the testing came from, and make sure you know the COA. And that's the way that I approach it.
Yeah.
I honestly don't dig too much into these other derivatives of cannabis, because I feel that way about it. I don't want to give too much energy to it, because I wouldn't use it, because it's not supported enough for me to know what I'm actually putting into my body. And that goes for food or other things as well that I put into my body. So that's just my personal perspective. Nothing against it. That's going to be, I would say, that the best way to not get scammed.
Yeah.
If you live in a state where you don't really have that option, it's tough.
Yeah.
And maybe build a relationship with the people that are selling it, so they'll be more insightful to you. They'll tell you what you're working with as much as they can, at least. And that might be the best option, I would say, because it's easy to get scammed. It's not too many people backing them. It's easy to slip something in from the streets and say, okay, well, this is the COA for it, or things like that. So, just protect yourself. Understand what you're dealing with. And for that company that you're referring to, who has the misleading labels, it takes someone like me or you, or someone that's heavy into the industry, to know that a product that's nationally distributed means that it's a hemp derived.
Yeah.
So it's very deceiving.
Yes.
It's not a good thing what they're doing, I would say. So I don't, protect yourself by just not using it.
I agree. Like, if you're in a legal state and you have the means, just go to a dispensary. You can pick up a cannabis drink there, and it's gonna work. You're not gonna sit there with the wonky whatever, going to the gas station, whatever. So, with the availability comes the unfortunateness of scams, and hemp, unfortunately, not being as regulated as cannabis. Because I do kind of feel that it needs to be a little more regulated, because God, there's so many scams out there when it comes to it, and it's sad, because CBD gets a bad rap for it, because these products aren't CBD. They're CBD derived, so there's a chemical process they put it through, and then ends up being Delta 8, et cetera, et cetera. Or the THCA, they're just using a ploy of volume, because you're allowed to have THC in the products. It just can't be over 0.3% THC. So if you have volume, then you end up with more THC. So that was another workaround they got. And then the THCA thing, that's essentially just immature cannabis, because cannabis all starts out at THCA. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of THC in there, because it does start to decarboxylate. The A stands for acid, and once you heat that up or it ages, that goes away. And then you end up with the psychoactive property. And so the number they're looking at is a THCA one, because unfortunately the 2018 Farm Bill didn't cover THCA. So that is federally legal, and that's where the loophole is right now. That's the gray areas. It's not covered anywhere. Now, it seems like they're going to tighten that up at some point. Certain states have started tackling that right now. So it's not something that's going to be long lived. And I honestly feel the Delta 8 and the H8Cs, they're not going to be as around probably in the next decade or so as they are today.
Right.
For the simple fact that regular cannabis is going to be more available around that time too. So, we'll see what happens. I'm curious to see where all of this goes. But there's good and bads that come with it. The good is that we're probably going to see more progression when it comes to consumption of cannabis in more social environments. But at the same time, what we have for the most part to look at are hemp-derived products, which the hemp industry has its own issues. So there's the stuff on that side too. So I'm just curious where all this is going to go. I'm excited too because I want to go to a basketball game and drink a freaking cannabis infused drink. That would be fun.
Right.
Yeah, like for me anyway, I don't drink anymore. So for me, that I think that would be a fun time. Or go to a freaking movie and have a cannabis drink.
Right.
I can have a beer now. Why not cannabis? So
Right.
I'm excited to see what the future holds. What do you think?
Like you said, man, those things are paving the way for what it's probably going to look like, or things that are going to be highlighted in the future of actual cannabis down the road. And as far as them having their lifespan of these hemp derivatives, I don't see it lasting too long, simply because the legislation will eventually come around. We'll eventually get the actual products on the shelves across the country.
Yeah.
And everyone will have the real experience of what it is, and they won't have to deal with the less regulated option.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it has its place and it has its benefit, the hemp derivatives, and we'll eventually see what it turns into. I am excited about it as well. Another thing that I'm excited about with the future of cannabis is just the medical benefits. Like if leagues like NCAA and NBA and these major leagues start to get involved and allow their players to consume cannabis, I think that it could, on the marketing side, on getting sponsorships and things like that, it's going to be huge for businesses and for athletes, and I think it's going to be huge for just the overall health of the sport.
Yeah, I agree.
And they'll learn. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, cannabis could be the new Bengay of sports, essentially.
Right,
because the creams and everything and all that, and the healing properties. I agree.
Exactly.
And one thing that I failed to mention, and I realized while I was writing this, I just didn't put it in there, there's actual alcohol companies that are involved with the cannabis industry now. The hemp derived stuff. So on the federal level, I can kind of see it moving quicker now, because there's certain crackdowns that certain states and certain federal governments want to do, or the federal government, but they don't want to do that because alcohol is down, cannabis is up.
Right.
And now the alcohol companies are jumping to cannabis.
Right.
So they're going to lobby. So at the same time, we kind of need those companies. I hate to say that, we need the corporate companies, but we need their lobbying power for the cannabis. And
they move the needle.
They're going to move the needle for us, and freaking drinks might just save us. So yeah, it's interesting, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I appreciate your opinions on this and everything, and your experience. You brought a lot of key experiences to this, especially on the the D1 college sports side. So I really appreciate it, man. And it was a great time having you here, man. I look forward to having you on again, and good luck to you guys in the future. And I look forward to a good update and everything. So, but for you guys out there, I will see y'all when I get back from Hawaii. I'll have a haircut then. Maybe I'll be a little bit more tan. But before I go, I want to thank my sponsors, Monster House and Turquoise Bloom. Check them both out. We're here at Monster House right now at the Consumption Lounge. And Turquoise Bloom, they are at 162 Wyatt Drive. So go ahead and check them out, guys. And I'll see y'all next time. All right, shoots.
Peace.